I know this movie might not be everyone's cup of tea. I understand. To be honest, some days I can take it or leave it with all the other problematic story points. But I kinda just wanted to talk about it as a whole and some of the things I appreciate about it. And most of my appreciation just boils down to pretty dresses and cotton core vibes. So the musical is set in 1850 Oregon Territory, and no black people, thank God. It's hard to take these escapist fantasies seriously when I have to remember slavery. The movie starts off with this lumberjack hick type coming through named Adam. And Adam is looking for a wife, preferably one who will cook and clean for him. As you can tell, romance is in the air.
I like best a widow woman that ain't afraid to work. There's 7 of us men, me and my 6 brothers. Place is like a pigsty, and the food tastes worse.
We're going to put a pin in this for later. As they're talking about this, 4 women come in, and Adam inquires if they're married too, to which the shop owner says they're spoken for. But that doesn't stop Adam from walking over to them and drooling like a hyena in heat. Get away from them. Also, this is a musical, by the way, if you couldn't tell. And damn, don't you miss a time when male leads in musicals could actually sing? Anyways, he's walking around town when he comes across Millie, a cook at a bar. Adam comes in and helps himself to a plate of her cooking because, that's all he cares about. Without ketchup, it slaps, and Adam is instantly blown away. He follows her back to her house because he knows where she lives, I guess. The fact that he's able to find out this information becomes way more disturbing by the end, but for now, I'll just let it rest.
Good farm, and a house on it. There's timberland, high grazing meadows, sheep, milk cows, 50 acres of wheat. Only thing it ain't got a woman. How about it?
He asks her to marry him like he's doing a drive-through order or something. Ew. He's like, yeah, I would have courted you and all, but
But here there's not time. I gotta be home tonight to tend to my stock. It'll be another 5 months before I get down again with my grain. You gonna keep me waiting all that 5 months just for your pride?
I don't know if Millie just wanted out of the house or what. And her reasoning is,
I tried. Again and again I tried. I'd say yes to one of them, and then an awful sinking feeling would strike me right here, and I couldn't do it. When I said yes to him, I waited for that feeling, but it didn't come. I feel just fine.
keep in mind, throughout the entire marriage ceremony and trip up the mountain, there has been no mention of his 7 brothers waiting for him at home. Must have slipped his mind. And you might think this wouldn't be a big deal, but Millie specifically says that one of the biggest reasons she was looking forward to marriage was the lessening of responsibility. She's used to cooking and cleaning for a tavern full of men.
I think how wonderful it would be to cook and care for one man. Just one man.
Looking after one must seem as close to paradise as a woman could get without marrying royalty. So I have to feel for her. They get there, and imagine Millie's surprise when she's approached by not 1, not 2, but 7 grown-ass men that she's now in charge of taking care of. I would be damned. She's like, y'all live close by? And they're like, no, we live here. Oh. Millie's stronger than me. I would have unalived myself in front of all of them and made Adam watch for the heck of it. And these men are animals. Fighting, dusty, loud, no table manners. And Adam's just laughing because why should he be expected to curtail the behavior or civilize his own brothers? He's just a grown ass man. Immediately, Millie peeps the game homeboy's been running. He doesn't want a wife, he wants a maid. Specifically, one that'll take care of him and all of his 7 emotionally stunted brothers. She takes all the lies and manipulation quite well. She cooks dinner without poisoning them, but then seeing them fall over the food like animals gets her heated enough she just rage quips and flits the table, which deserved. Night comes and the boys are watching Adam to see if Millie's even gonna let him come into the bedroom, because she wasn't looking too happy earlier. They're all up in his face too, nosy as hell. Of course Millie lets him in, but of course she doesn't sleep with him. He really thinks shit's sweet.
You want a cook, a washerwoman, a hired girl. Well, a hired girl's got a right to a sleeping place of her own.
He ends up sleeping in a tree instead, so he doesn't have to tell his brothers that the first night of his shotgun marriage is already pretty rocky. Millie ends up feeling sorry for him for some reason and letting him back in, talking about she's in love. But no, you're not. You don't know anything about this man. He's a liar. By the next day, Millie knows what to expect. And now, she's ready for the asses.
You might as well hand them over because you're not going to get your clothes or food or nothing till you get all cleaned up and shaved.
She took all their clothes while they were sleeping and refuses to give them back. She even tries breaking down the bedroom door to get their underwear. They got the idea real quick, and at breakfast, she was running that ship tight. Had them waiting for Grace, using forks, shaving, and bathing. A miracle worker, truly. Now that the boys more closely resemble humans, she tries to get them to start looking for brides and up out that house. After breakfast, they hear she's going into town and follow her like a bunch of lost puppies.
Hey, Billy's going to town. Hey, let's go with him.
They go into town where they see three girls who I think are all supposed to be different from the first four, but I can't be sure. One brother offers them a chew of tobacco, which, they're all offended, and this guy is like, I'm gonna whoop that ass, so they're scrapping. And now Millie comes out to break it up, but this lady's got some reflexes. I don't know if she was the bar cook or the bouncer. One of the brothers ends up beating them all, but Millie's still disappointed. After hearing about how the fight started, she tries to better explain to them how they should talk to women. She says, try saying something nice. And one of the brothers says,
Nice night for a coon hunt.
don't play with me, man. This leads to Millie teaching them a proper way to court with a courting song. And throughout the whole song, there's these obvious hints that these are the things Millie wishes were done to court her.
You sidle up and squeeze her hand. Let me tell you, fellas, that it's grand.
And the best Adam could do was, wanna get married? By the next day, the guys are dressed and ready to get some puss. They're going to a barn raising, which must have been a real big shindig back in the day, I don't know. Mind you, this is before the internet or TV, so there weren't many options. They get to the barn raising, and of course the townswomen are already there. Thanks to Millie's advice, each brother is able to pick up one of the women mad smooth, and the girls actually seem to be feeling it.
I'm sorry. That's all.
May I escort you back? You know, you're the prettiest girl I ever acquainted.
But the girls also came with dates, so the brothers are kind of having to compete for their affection. This results in these long barn dancing scenes, which are honestly some of the best parts of the movie. I love everything about the costuming, having the women wear pastels and the brothers in darker colors. It contrasts with the boring suits worn by the townsmen. But I kind of wish they went all out and made each couple match colors, because it does get a little bit confusing knowing who's crushing on who. I mean, it's 14 people, we gotta make this a bit easier. Anyway, back to the dance. They're dancing, they're charming, they're doing whatever this is. And by the end, the seven brothers end up making the better impression. Throughout this whole scene, Millie's really been working on driving home how the boys have to earn the girls' affection, and that their aggressive and rude behavior will do nothing but drive them away. And when they're acting like gentlemen and more romantic, that's when the girls like them the most. It's kind of like we should have kept listening to Millie and stopped listening to Adam. So apparently these guys are actually raising a barn at the barn raising party. Go figure. Whichever team can raise their side of the barn fastest wins some pig. Millie wants the pig, so the guys are like, let's do it. The suitors from earlier are also forming a team, and these guys have held a grudge. Understandable, I mean. I imagine it's only been around an hour since the Pontaby brothers charmed their women out their arms. It's sick work, really. So now the suitors are like literally trying to kill them. They're dropping hammers, pushing them off ladders, hitting them with large pieces of wood. They are not playing. Adam notices his brothers aren't fighting back, and he gets pissed and calls them some.
A bunch of lily-livered, chicken-hearted lick spittles.
But once Adam gets hit, it's up. Now they're really throwing hands. Millie's forced to watch all her hard work go down the drain. These men are the textbook definition of scaring the hoes. Also, the barn is never getting put up. Nothing but scraps and wood and dust. After that whole debacle, the brothers realize that they might be in love, and for some reason they keep going to Adam for advice, like, this man don't know squat. Adam doesn't take shit seriously until one of the brothers, Benjamin, starts talking about going out and leaving on his own. Millie hears this and apparently makes the connection that Benjamin and the rest must be upset about not being able to see their crushes anymore, which, I don't know, that's not what they said, but whatever.
He says it's the winter, but I know it's not that. He's grieving for his girl. They're all grieving for their girls.
Why should they grieve for them girls? They hardly saw more than once.
Adam hears this and does what a man does, make everything worse.
So what'd the Romans do? They went down there and they carried them off. If you can't do as good as a bunch of old Romans, You're no brothers of mine.
He starts talking about kidnapping the women, taking them up the mountain, and these dumbasses are really listening to him.
Hey, them Romans. They're the ones I heard about settled up north of here?
Monkey see, monkey do. They end up listening to Adam's terrible advice and going into town to kidnap the women. Kinda terrifying how easily they pull this off. I mean, this man is over here pretending to be a cat. These are serial killer tactics. Are we not supposed to be concerned? By the time they sound an alarm, it's too late. They've all got the girls and the horses are running, whipping these horses like their lives depend on it, running after them mad as hell, chasing them up this hill. And the brothers are looking back, shook. All this unnecessary stress and effort. It's too bad they didn't try running this plan by Millie. It would have saved everybody a lot of grief. They get to the other side of the mountain, and Adam tells his brothers to let the women scream. Their women are screaming because they're trying to alert the people who are following them where they are, but their voices end up echoing and causing an avalanche, which traps them on the other side of the mountain with their kidnappers. Again, this plan is too well thought out and definitely concerning. I dread to think what would have happened if Millie said no. So the guys pull up, and these women are terrified. You hear me? Terrified. These girls are shook. They run up to Millie and hide behind her. And now that I think about it, Millie came from the same town as these women, so she definitely knew a lot about them and their families, so this is double sick. Millie comes out confused because as far as she knows, they left and came back with 7 new assault charges. She thought y'all were bringing back deer. She is nowhere near ready for this. She demands the boys take them back, but of course we know they can't. They're gonna have to wait until the snow melts in spring. And Adam uses his man logic to somehow blame this on Millie.
It was your idea, wasn't it?
Well, I'd say it's more yours. It all came out of that book about them sobbing women.
Millie has had enough.
Do you think those girls would marry them now? You think because you got a wife so easily, because I didn't make you court me and coax me, that's all there is to it? You think a wife is just to cook and clean? You got no understanding, you got no feelings. How could you do a thing like this?
Now that Millie's making them all face consequences, he's like, I'm leaving then, going off pouting like a child. Now Adam's mad. Like, did you think she was gonna help you kidnap 7 human beings? You really wanted her to corroborate this bullshit. Millie doesn't even try to stop him. For the most part, the girls are safe in the house with Millie, but they're not too happy about being kidnapped. These women keep their feet on necks, okay? They're taking their beds, cutting up their shit to make dresses, throwing snowballs with rocks in them while they're doing chores. I wish there were more scenes like this.
What's the matter? You afraid of a little snowball? Snowballs with rocks in them. Them poor little deers.
Despite their obvious disdain, the brothers just don't know when to quit. They are rifling through every excuse in the book to get Millie to let them into the house.
I got me a stiff neck.
Now that's enough of this nonsense.
Millie cuts that shit out real quick, but the women don't seem too bothered, watching them as they leave. That night, the girls are getting ready for bed, reading apparently the only book they have.
Oh, we've heard that book 3 times already.
Oh, yes, go on. Read us about the sobbing women.
And then Doris is like,
What's the matter? Didn't you ever think of that? That you're sleeping in one of their beds?
whore. Then the girls start scrapping. And the number of white people fighting in this movie is crazy. Ghetto, if you will. Millie comes in and she's like, please stop fighting. I'm pregnant and cannot take that stress. And everyone immediately gets hyped. A baby is the perfect thing to get everyone's minds off of being kidnapped and scratch that baby itch. This leads to my personal favorite song, June Bride. I love the dancing, the corset fits, they look so elegant. The makeup's leaning a bit orange, but maybe that was the style then, I don't know. They then follow this up with a reprise which sounds. If you don't know anything else about this movie, I implore you to give the soundtrack a chance. They don't do orchestral arrangements like they used to. Months go by. In the cabin, the girls help Millie out with chores and keep busy until spring. And we see all these beautiful dresses. I started wondering where they got all this fabric from. Hopefully Adam's missing a few curtains. This then leads to my second favorite number. But as they're singing, sparks are flying between the brothers and their kidnappees. Supposedly this is supposed to be romantic. It's implied that none of the girls are being made to do anything that they don't want to, thanks to Millie. Well, except for being there. But then...
Frank, Dan, Ben, Caleb, everybody. Millie's having her baby.
The girls run around scrambling to get everything ready. Soon the baby is delivered. Gideon went and told Adam that Millie is having a baby and he should come back and see the kid. He's talking about
Just one of her tricks to get me back.
even Gideon had to put some shame on his ass. Deadbeat daddy and husband had ass.
A girl? I might have known she'd have a girl.
Adam's salty as hell. Meanwhile, back at the village, now that the snow is cleared, they're getting ready to go back up there and start beating some ass. Adam comes back too, mostly because he has to help his brothers fight off an entire town of men that he made them piss off. And if you think he's gonna apologize or show any regret for his actions, you are sorely mistaken. He tells Millie now that he's a father to a little girl, he understands the pain he put those women's fathers through. Girl, he's like, yeah, I wouldn't like that if someone did that to my daughter. Interesting. Men only being able to sympathize with other men. He couldn't just imagine how the women were feeling. You don't even know their fathers, and you didn't even know about this baby until Gideon told you an hour ago. Moving on. Stick with me now, because it's gonna get sticky. Now Adam has to fight the brothers who still want to keep the girls. The plot now calls for Adam to talk sense, something he hasn't done this entire movie. He's like, hey, the girls aren't going to appreciate it if you beat up their kinfolk who are just trying to rescue them. Like, giving them back is the only option at this point. And the brothers are like, yeah, true. But at this point, the girls have run away because now they want to stay. So the brothers have to gather them up. The men gave them a hell of a head start. Meanwhile, the townsmen are heading up the mountain when they hear a baby crying. And automatically, they assume the worst. They pull up to see the brothers manhandling the heck out of these girls. And they pull them off. But then the father asks, wait, I heard a baby. Who's pregnant? And the girls all claim Millie's baby, which I don't know how that's working, but whatever. Now they all have to get married because respectability politics and all. And that's the happy ending. I feel like this movie gets a lot of hate for being problematic and misogynistic, which it is. And if I squint, I can kind of see how the filmmakers are trying to say something that wasn't terrible with their messaging. Like, you have to become a gentleman in order to woo a lady, in order to get her affection or something. But there wasn't many scenes where the boys were romantic or gentle. So I don't know, your guess is as good as mine. Everyone wants to blame the time period, but there were more feminist movies made during this time, and they were all still successful. But the one thing I can never take away from this movie, aside from the soundtrack, is the costuming. Walter Plunkett? Walter Plunkett? Walter Plunkett? Walter Plunkett kind of ate this. But if it comes out later that he's a racist, then never mind.